That Dr. Nagao. Please stay with us as we come back to you for our next discussion as well. Now we move on. China has announced plans to strengthen its economic ties with Canada, emphasizing the importance of their growing strategic partnership. The Chinese embassy in Ottawa has stated that this cooperation benefits both nations and contributes to global peace and prosperity. This move comes after U.S. President Donald Trump's threats to impose 100% tariffs on Canada if it strikes a deal with China. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney responded by focusing on domestic solutions, urging Canadians to prioritize buying and building Canadian products. The two countries recently formed a strategic economic partnership, including a significant tariff reduction on Chinese electric vehicles. Now for this discussion, we welcome back Dr. Nagao. He's joining us live from Tokyo. Thank you very much, Dr. Nagao, for staying with us. Now looking at this, how do you analyze current evolving China-Canada relationship?
In this case, view from the United States, indirect approach to the U.S. is a very important matter. So through Canada, through Mexico, through other countries, through Vietnam, for example, if the Chinese product coming to the United States, instead of the direct link between China and the United States, it is not easy to control. So that's why U.S. focusing on this kind of indirect approach to the U.S. market. But the view from the Canada, the agreement with China is more independent deal and not related direct link with the United States. So that's why they have the right to deal with China, they believe. So that's why there is a gap of the US perception and Canada's perception has happened. But indeed, the interesting point is view from the agreement between two, in the Canada and China, what will impact to come to the U.S. market is still uncertain. So that's why currently this is a battle of the image. But reality will come after the calculation of the real calculation based on real agreement will publish and checked by the many experts. So that will happen later, I think.
Right. So how do you see U.S.'s threats, particularly by President Trump about 100% tariffs and etc. How do you think do you think this will further push China and Canada closer, or do you think that there will be some hesitation in their relationship?
It is a little bit controversial part because view from the emotion, because of the rising tension between US and Canada, push Canada to cooperate with China. But at the same time, in the past, Canada and China has a problem too. So that's why the view from the long-term relation between Canada and China and Canada and the United States, still Canada also cannot trust China. So that's why in this case, what is important is indeed, currently U.S.-Canada negotiation is still ongoing, and in the future they need to agree. And before it, any agreement between Canada and others could affect the negotiation between the Canada and the United States. So that's why this is all of the negotiation could be the complicated negotiation. And without solving issue between US and Canada, indeed this complication will continue for a long time.
During Justin Trudeau's leadership in Canada, China and Canada's relationship took a toll. Do you think they're trying to now? Carney is trying to rebuild that relationship, or do you think he's not touching the things that strained their relationship earlier?
Compared with the past, tension is easing between Canada and China, I think. But at the same time, US-Canada tension will rise because of the current government and previous government. Because in case of the diplomatic negotiation between President Trump and others, every time right-wing government has the advantage. In case of Canada, because of the election, they choose the middle or middle-left government. So that's why when the negotiation has happened between President Trump and Canadian government, because of the middle left, they have this advantage in the negotiation. Because President Trump does not prefer the middle or middle left government. So currently, Canada faces this problem. And the view from Canada, because of the President Trump's pressure, the right-wing candidate lose their popularity in Canada, they believe. But at the same time, view from the President Trump, why they pressure to Canada, because the right-wing candidate should win in the election in Canada. So very ironical situation has happened between US and Canada. One government is right, another government is middle or middle left. So that's why they dislike each other, and the negotiation is very complicated. And because the negotiation between US and Canada is complicated, Canada and other countries' negotiation is also affected by this US-Canada relations. So this is a wrong cycle, and this is not good.
And lastly, how do you see the difference in approach of, Mark Carney's government and Justin Trudeau's government towards China?
Of course, during the Trudeau government, China took the two hostages, and the negotiation was a very bad negotiation. They arrested two Canadians that time. So that's why this is not the pure business-related negotiation. So that's why when the Carney government sworn in, of course, one kind of reset could happen. And now also it is relatively better negotiation has happened between Canada and China. But at the same time, still, China is not a long-term trustworthy partner for Canada. So that's why even if Canada needs a new partner, and in this case, the negotiation with the US is faced a very difficult situation, still the Carney government should not cooperate with China so deeply. So this is unfortunately the difficult situation for Canada, but it is a reality, I think.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nagao, for sharing that. Please stay with us as we come back to you. Now, moving on, the World Health Organization